Julius Caesar is one of the most important figures in Roman history. He lived towards the end of the Roman Republic and helped to found the Roman Empire. Caesar's life is full of political, military, and literary achievements. In this video, we will talk about Julius Caesar's life and some of the lesser-known aspects. Doos TV starts. Caesar was born in the early days of the Roman Empire on July 13, 100 BC in Sabura, in what is now Lazio, Italy. His father was Gaius Caesar and his mother was Aurelia Cotta. After his father died, Caesar was orphaned at the age of 16. However, he was raised among the elite class of Rome and was tutored by private tutors. During his education, he showed talent in mathematics, linguistics, philosophy, and rhetoric. Caesar entered the Roman political scene at a young age and rose quickly. The two great political leaders in Rome at the time were Pompey and Crassus. Caesar formed an alliance with these two leaders and worked to increase the power of Rome. At the end of this alliance, Caesar conquered Gaul and rose as a military leader. While conquering Gaul, he killed and captured hundreds of thousands of people. However, this success was not welcomed by his political rivals in Rome. A political crisis broke out in Rome, and Caesar was forced to flee Rome. Afterwards, he and Pompey had disagreements and went to war. Caesar invaded Italy and defeated Pompey, and in 45 BC he became dictator of Rome. During his dictatorship, Caesar led the reorganization and reform of Rome. In the process, he solved many of Rome's infrastructure problems. For example, he improved the rights of slaves and reformed Rome's laws and justice system. Caesar's success was short-lived, however, and in 44 BC he was assassinated by a group of consuls in the Roman Senate. This event marked the turning point that signaled the end of the Roman Republic. However, Caesar's legacy continued until the founding of the Roman Empire. Caesar also wrote many literary works. His most famous work is the Gallic History of the Wars. And this work, written during his conquest of Gaul, is considered a detailed source on Roman history. Caesar also wrote another work about his own life, De Bello Civili. After Caesar's death, Augustus, the first emperor of the Roman Empire, emerged as a successor leader. Augustus continued Caesar's reforms and strengthened the Roman Empire. Caesar's life is full of political, military, and literary achievements. He made a significant contribution to the foundation of the Roman Empire and the shaping of the modern Western world. But he was criticized by some for causing the deaths of hundreds of thousands of people in the lands he conquered. Today, he is still considered one of the greatest leaders in history, and his influence lasted until the fall of the Roman Empire. Among those who ended Julius Caesar's life was Marcus Junius Brutus. Brutus was a close friend of Caesar, a member of the Roman Senate, and a politician. Brutus belonged to an old Roman patrician family and was opposed to Caesar's plan to legalize his own power. Brutus decided to conspire with other senators to kill Caesar. This conspiracy is called the Ides of March and took place on March 16, 44 BC. The Ides of March is a term used in the ancient Roman calendar and refers to the 15th day of March. Since the death of Julius Caesar also took place on March 15, 44 BC, this event is called the Ides of March. The word Ides actually means middle or middle. Therefore, Ides of March refers to the middle of March. In the Roman calendar, Ides days were used for certain days of the month, and on these days especially religious ceremonies were held. But the murder of Julius Caesar defined the term more as a symbol of assassination. "This is how tyrants are made," Brutus shouted after Caesar's death. But Caesar's murder actually further confused Rome. and this event led to a series of wars that eventually led to the founding of the Roman Empire. Brutus was forced to leave Rome after Caesar's death and subsequently participated in a series of unsuccessful military campaigns. Finally, Brutus was defeated in Philippi in 42 BC by the military forces of the Roman senators led by Marcus Antony and Gaius Cassius, and was forced to commit suicide. Brutus is seen by some as a hero, by others as an example of a criminal against the Roman Republic. In any case, Brutus's involvement in Caesar's death was a historic event and had a significant impact on the future of the Roman Empire. A phrase known as "not you too, Brutus" is a statement allegedly uttered by Julius Caesar during his death, just before he was stabbed by Brutus. This phrase also appears in Shakespeare's Julius Caesar. However, many historians dispute whether it was actually said. Some think that it was not uttered by Caesar with his dying breath, that it was a fabrication of one of the sources who narrated the event, or that it is a legend that has become part of popular culture. However, it is still used as a symbol in popular culture and literature. What is known and speculated about Caesar's private life? Some sources claim that Caesar had many lovers, and that most of the women in Rome wanted to have relations with him. It is also known that Caesar was a famous gourmet and brought various spices and ingredients for his dishes. Another interesting point is that Caesar probably suffered from epilepsy. At the time, epilepsy was considered a sacred disease, and many people believed that Caesar was chosen by the gods. However, Caesar's epileptic seizures could in some cases affect his decision-making and leadership abilities. Caesar's genius for military strategy is also a historical secret. While most battles at the time were based on close combat techniques and the use of force, Caesar's tactical innovations transformed warfare. In particular, Caesar's creativity can be seen in the tactics of siege warfare, which was used to move as a team in battle and to encircle the enemy. In conclusion, Caesar's life and leadership make him stand out not only as a warrior or politician, but also as a distinctive and intriguing figure in the fields of food, love, and health. However, some of his secrets are still not fully revealed, and the debate continues. For more of this kind of content, you can like the video and click subscribe. See you in the next video.